Popey on the move.
And welcome to Biddle for Saturday, March 9th, 2019. Feels like we did this earlier. Anyway, how's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Tired, but great.
All right, so please give me a thumbs up for the chat sound, the audio, if that's good, because we're having issues, technical issues right at this moment.
I heard the intro before I muted it.
All right, so we should be good. So what's going on? Tell you what's going on. Popey's at scale right now, walking around like he's, the cool thing to do here.
Hello.
It's actually kind of cool to see what, where he is and what's there. Makes me want to be there.
Yeah, I'm only slightly jealous.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Only slightly.
I'm a lot more.
It's cool anyway.
The other way so we can watch.
Oh, he's got a big smile.
All right, we got a thumbs up for sound, so we're good. So, what do you got? What do you got before we go any further? What do you got interesting going on there, Popey? Anything?
So I'm in the expo hall where there are a lot of stands. There's a lot of distros here. There's some cool stands like the Critter people are here. The Lutris people are here.
Yeah.
Demo Lutris.
Strider.
Lutris developer. Yeah. Hi.
Strider, what's going on, man?
And Linux Foundation people are here. The VLC people are here. Fedora, OpenSUSE, KDE, GNOME. Everyone's here. It's a really lovely, friendly atmosphere. It's lovely. It's a really lovely event. There's loads of talks going on. And these people are here as well.
Oh, those guys.
Oh, those guys. They're like everywhere, dude.
Yeah, they're trouble.
Hey,
Yeah.
you look a lot like the guy that does the live streams for that Snapcraft thing.
It's just a coincidence, Nate. Just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that all the time.
What's that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to jump on and say hello and keep up the good work, okay? I'll see you later.
Awesome, brother. See you.
All
right.
Bye.
Good seeing you.
Right.
Yeah.
Later, Popey.
Bye.
All right. We did not have a distro challenge this week because I don't know, because we just didn't. We didn't feel like it. But we were going to check out Bitwarden, and if you've seen the Biddle Europe edition, you've seen we probably spent, I would say, a good hour and 15 minutes talking about Bitwarden and passwords and password managers and good practices and everything else. So we might as well start the conversation here. If you've seen that already, you might have heard some of this stuff, but definitely going to have some different opinions on this show as well. So, Dan, let's start it out. Bitwarden, did you try
Yes, sir. I did try it, and I like it a lot. I don't know if it will be my only password manager going forward or not, but it will be part of my toolbox. I did enjoy it. There's some really nice features. I actually do plan on implementing it for my family because I think it has some good things that I'll be able to share passwords with my wife and whatnot. So, things that we share already anyway. And I think it'll help us be a little more proactive as far as being able to change our passwords, and it'll do it for us. It'll keep track of it for us.
Well, you said something interesting on Biddle that you use a multi
I do
thing approach. So you don't use one program to
Nope.
manage your passwords. So
No, I use KeePass at work on a regular basis, and then I also I had LastPass before, and I still use that some. I still have some things in there, I guess. And then there's some stuff that I actually do put on paper and stuff away into like a safe or whatnot, and probably never touch.
right.
So yeah, I guess I do kind of go at it in a multi-tier approach. I don't know how great an idea it is to put it all in one basket. You never know, I guess, and it's probably good to keep up on a couple of different ways to go at it.
Yep. Definitely. All right, Chris, did you get to try LastPass this week? Or LastPass,
well,
Bitwarden. Sorry.
I did download it and tried to come up with an occasion to actually use it. But this is always, as I said last week, these are the types of programs that sit on my phone for two years, and I realized, oh, I have this on here, and I either look into it or don't look into it. I tried coming up with an occasion to try it, but I didn't really have a chance to. Installed fine, and not causing a problem other than taking up a little bit of space on my phone.
Well, let me ask you, how do you manage your passwords?
Just remember them. I do have some of my passwords written down on. I have an S9, and so I use S Note a lot, and my phone is encrypted, etc. The screen lock is there, so.
Right. Well, I have like hundreds of passwords, so there's no way I'm going to remember all of them. I mean, I'm closer to 1,000 than I am 0. Yeah. So, like, no, there's no way I can do it without something.
I totally understand something like that, and I don't have anything against Bitwarden. It's just that is the type of app that I generally, like I said, I mean, I've had Evernote on my phone for probably close to 11 years. I've used it maybe twice. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's another thing. We started this out by saying we were probably going to try out a notes program, and we ended up kind of midstream switching to the note part of Bitwarden, which really that's not its primary focus. Its primary focus is a password manager. So, no, I wouldn't say that Bitwarden would take over for any kind of regular note program you have, because it's lacking in a lot of things for that.
I will say I do have a couple of notes, if you will, that I've kept in LastPass, and I did move them to Bitwarden, and it's with the intention of that they're encrypted and secure and, you know, locked away, but they are just notes. They aren't actually passwords. So yeah, I do like the fact that it's very cross-platform, you know, works on your phone, works on your computer, works everywhere. I mean, there's and browser extensions. That's super neat too.
Yeah, I did install it on Salient, but you know, because I haven't taken that off from the previous challenge that we had there, and I've been using Salient for 2 weeks, so 2.5 weeks. So,
nice. Salient's really nice, man.
It's good stuff.
All right, Nate, is Bitwarden something you would use?
So I'm still in the process of evaluating it. I'm actually going to finish an article on it. I didn't have as much time this week, and I ended up working today, a side gig, so that was fun. So here, I'll tell you what I like about it right now. As far as secure notes go, I mean,
no, you just wouldn't.
No, because it doesn't automatically wrap it when I go to look at like notes I put in there. I'd have to edit for it to see, because it wraps the text around, or I have to a manual carriage return, not carriage return. That's an old people thing. I was thinking typewriter.
Old? Just pass the white cane over to me. Why don't you?
Is that like with horses?
Yeah, something like that. So here's what I do like about it. So the extension, like in Firefox, because I don't use Chrome because I think it's terrible. I was using the Firefox extension, and so I was able to put some of my passwords in there, and I kind of like that because, although Firefox will store those passwords, they're I don't know how much I trust that, myself, because I don't know if it's encrypted. I don't know where it's really being stored, and I know that it shares it with other browsers, and I don't really like that. Like if you have your identity linked in, I don't really care for that. So I like that I can organize my passwords into groups. Like I have an OpenSUSE group, a work group, and then that's for right now, financial group, and so that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'd used the card thing yet. I haven't played with the card thing because I don't do much online purchasing, and I'm not sure about the identity portion of it. But it's something that I do want to play with. So my current password manager is this up here, and it's been kind of slipping like an old 700R4 transmission, you know, kind of sort of giving out a little bit. And my rules for what I use to put the my passwords together, how I string my sentences, they're like I just can't. I'm falling apart because I change it enough and then I have to guess it a bunch of times, and it's just not a good look when you're guessing your passwords 5 or 6 times. So so there's definitely a possibility for this. I have to give it a little more time. I've only been using it for about a week, and part of that was learning, and so now I'm this week I'm really going to start actually trying to use it. You know, they got some more passwords in there, so we'll see how it goes. So it's a maybe, a strong maybe right now.
Well, I think if you're going to go that route, like if you remember all your passwords now and you're going to pick a program, you would definitely want to pick something that is open source and something that has been vetted and secure. And I think Bitwarden fits that bill. So
also you can roll your own too, you know, so that just, even though I probably wouldn't, it may be me. Am I popping?
You are popping, but it's okay. You were, I should say.
All right, I'll move over here a little bit. And anyway, so the fact that I can roll my own is I think is what gives it its strength. Like for me, even if I don't, just having that option is worth a lot for me. So,
yep,
that's kind of where I'm at.
All right.
And by the way, I was hearing that pop, so I don't know if it was me.
I don't know who it was, to be honest with you.
It's gone now.
But
yeah,
Pulse Audio, we'll blame it on.
Okay, Pulse Audio.
All right, Colin, did you get to try Bitwarden?
No, I didn't download it, Rocco. Didn't try it. I don't feel comfortable with something else controlling my passwords and stuff. So I probably, because I don't understand it, but I also just, I don't know. I just like to put my password in. So I don't know whether I feel comfortable. Yeah. No, that's one thing I'm just not quite comfortable with. But by the way, I just want to know, did Nate jump from OpenSUSE to Pop OS, did he?
No, it's Pop OS. I think I've said before, it's a beautiful, beautiful desktop, and I think it looks great, but it's GNOME.
That's like asking if Zeb has come to love pixelated games.
Right?
I love pixelated games.
I got the joke.
Not GNOME.
No, it's good to hear about the Bit Warden and stuff. I haven't never ever tried a password manager, and so I'm just sort of listening with interest. That's all.
As you can see, there's quite a few people that don't rely on password managers, including in the Europe edition. There was English Bob and a couple others that just don't rely on password managers, which I find like awesome that you don't rely on a third party. But I just can't do that. There's just no way. There's just no way.
No, I think you've got a specific use case because obviously you're part of a wide variety of social networks and stuff. So obviously you'd have a lot of passwords, and you cannot use the same password for everything that you have because that's not a great idea. So I can understand it from that perspective.
Plus, I'm not that creative. Okay, so me trying to create passwords is like. I mean, monkey one. That's it. Dave.
Before I started using password managers, I had 3 variations of the same password that I used everywhere.
Wow.
For the last year, I've been using the paid version of LastPass, which has been vetted by a security person I trust.
Yep.
But it's not open source. So I did download Bitwarden. It's on my laptop, my desktop, my tablet, my phone. I exported all my stuff from LastPass, imported it into Bitwarden. Everything went smoothly. It runs really well. next Friday, come payday, I'm going to upgrade to the paid version of that, because I really don't think it's fair to compare the free version of Bitwarden to the paid version of LastPass, because I don't know what I don't remember what I would lose if I stopped paying for LastPass. But come next Friday, I am going to pay the $10 for a year, get the paid version, run it for a while. If it can update and change and create passwords as easily as it does for LastPass, I will be switching over so that I'm on an open source version, because I've been very happy with LastPass. It's treated me very well. But if I can get an open source version of a password manager that does just as well, I will definitely be jumping ship, or at least keeping both.
Well, it does update passwords. I know that. There one caveat to that is when you have multiple logins for at the same site, it doesn't pop up and ask you which one do you want to update. Just updates the one that it picks, I guess, that you logged in with.
The top one?
The top one. But it does update passwords. It does allow you to generate passwords easily. So I think you'll find it pretty good, Dave.
I think I will enjoy exploring more. And I'm just wondering if Nate, in his current password manager, has tried sudo zipper dupe. Maybe that would help him handle him better.
Yeah, but I have to put in my password after I do that.
So, all right, Big Pod.
I didn't get to try the Bitwarden because I was switching laptops like every day, and well, I'm so engrossed in LastPass, everything is on there. I didn't want to switch without, because then I would be without passwords. Like half the passwords would be on LastPass, half of them would be on Bitwarden. I don't want to replicate my experience I had a couple of weeks ago. I lost my phone.
Now, let me ask you, Dave, Big Pod, do you guys have a problem with LastPass? Like LastPass, a lot of people switched when they had gotten hacked into, or their database had gotten hacked into a few years ago. Does that bother you? Did that bother you enough to switch, or not?
Not really, because of the security behind, or supposed security behind, and that's the same one we use at work. So it's kind of hand in hand.
Yeah, and the stuff, everything that's on their site, yeah, they may have been hacked into, but everything is hashed on their site.
Right.
So they didn't get anything other than a bunch of gibberish.
Right.
Yeah, and their encryption is so advanced, but so different from what there is normally. I believe it's also proprietary specifically for them, and they don't actually store the encryption keys, which are your master passwords. So because of that, it's for non-state actors, it's really hard to crack, or almost impossible.
And the person that reviewed their code, Steve Gibson, I listened to a podcast that he's on, Security Now, and I trust him as to know security. He went through their code, and he really likes the way they implemented it, which is what got me onto LastPass originally.
Right.
Was that before or after they got bought? Do you know by any chance?
I believe it was before. And he hasn't seen anything. He discussed it recently, and he said he hasn't seen anything yet to make him leave. Okay. But he is keeping an eye on it.
All right. Steve. I keep saying LastPass. Bitwarden.
I downloaded it. I looked at it. I was watching some, videos on what I can do with it. I have to admit, I used, my Google. I do have a ton of passwords that I use, and I can't remember them all. There are many times I totally forget. And I know, just talking with Steve Durst out in the chat room, he's, using a little black book. I have a buddy that does that. But if I'm on my phone somewhere and I don't have my little black book, what do? My wife, this might be a good thing. My wife is terrible. My wife has this amazing memory. She can throw numbers at you and everything, but she is one of those that unfortunately uses the same password for almost every site. And I tell her how bad that is.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, sorry, that beeping is me if you hear it. I got dinner going. But something like this, if I can get her to use it, might be more beneficial, because I try to tell her that one password, all they need to do is get in one site and they'll start looking for her email and find it. And I can't remember the site. Earlier last year, I remember seeing an article. So there was this ad, or not an ad, but article about this site you can go to, put in your email address, and see if you've been kind of duped or hacked or whatever. I put in both what I use for Gmail, my Steve's very own, and then my personal email. It came up with nothing. I put my wife's in and said, "Oh yeah, you were the one." So that bothers me, and why, and she won't save passwords on her browser or anything like that, but she'll use the same password. So that's kind of scary. So I'm going to really look into it more and see if I can talk her into using something like that. I know it's somewhere else, but I think it's better than what she's doing now.
Yeah, it's definitely better than what she's doing now, dude. And one of the guys in chat said that he uses Firefox for his passwords, and that's not the best option either. You definitely want to use something that is a encrypted form somewhere along the line. So I would definitely encourage you to. I mean, Ron, you say you're trying Bitwarden. That's way, way better than just storing it in Firefox.
Yes.
Steve, I suck it in the Zoom chat, but it's the site you were thinking of is Have I Been Pwned?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they also have a really a cool new feature where you can go /passwords from their site. So say your wife's password, for example. If you go to there, you can actually put in that password, and it doesn't have any identifying information or anything. So you're just checking that password, and it'll tell you, is this one of the passwords that it knows about having been released? And so it's kind of interesting, because there's some passwords that I thought no one would ever guess, and they wouldn't have guessed if it wasn't for some sort of data breach that happened somewhere. And I've stopped using several passwords because of it. So
okay, thanks.
I can say that their password thing is really actually secure, because they don't actually even send the hash to the server. They actually send just first 5 characters of the hash and return all hashes and numbers that start with that 5 characters, and then they using local code they check which one is the full hash and display that number. I've been actually doing stuff with their API, so I know this.
The guy who runs that site is actually a security specialist who checks and tries to, is hired by companies to see if he can break into their systems. An analyst, security analyst, and he kind of does this on the side as a service to kind of give back to the community.
Yeah.
All right. Vash, what's going on?
Yeah, so I actually ended up switching trying Bitwarden right around the time I switched over to Linux, because it got to the point where between work and school and personal passwords, like I just had too many to keep up with anymore. I have to keep up with all the ones from work because I don't want to keep them written down like some people do. I'm sure there's so many people at work that have like a notepad or something with them all, but I don't do that. So I have to make creative ways to keep them all track of them all. So I tried using this for my personal accounts, and so far it's been good. I messed around with the note feature and just looked at it, but that's not really what I would ultimately want for notes. That would be good for if you wanted to keep something that you needed to keep encrypted or whatever, or if you just had something you needed to have in your password manager, I guess. But I don't know that it's something where necessarily I would use that note-taking feature a whole lot. But yeah, I've been using it for, I don't know, what, 4 months now. So it's done pretty well. It's like I mentioned on the UK cast, my big complaint is the dinosaur websites, which I understand, but it's just unfortunate that I wish Bitwarden would at least add like a blacklist or a whitelist for special characters, just so you can have a special character in your password and not have to worry about, oh, this password won't accept, I don't know, exclamation marks or something. So that would make things easier on that end, but
Yep. All right. Well, there's a few things that Bitwarden could probably do better, but Adam, did you get to try Bitwarden?
I've been using Bitwarden for about 6 months.
Yeah.
It's actually a really great piece of software. I like that it's a lot faster on as far as like an extension goes than like LastPass was, and also I use it on mobile, and it's so much less intrusive than LastPass is on mobile. Like LastPass is just so in your face about everything, and LastPass wants to fill in forms with passwords that don't actually have. They're not even for passwords. Like it wants to fill in everything. It wants all your credentials, and I don't really care for that. So I like that Bitwarden offers just a kind of lightweight experience. I do use it with two-factor, which if any of you have not set up two-factor with your master password, you definitely should.
Which one do you use, Adam?
Google Authenticator.
Okay.
And so, just set up two-factor, and you're good to go. And it also has my iPhone is the Face ID thing, so yeah, it requires Face ID, the two-factor, and the master password. So as secure as I can make it.
Yep. Paul.
Dan.
Yeah, I actually am using it as a backup of my LastPass. So I exported everything from LastPass into the Bitwarden. All my credit card numbers and my social security, everything I put in
there. Somebody was saying on Army, was that you saying on the Europe edition that the import feature was great except for notes or something like that?
No, it was Charlie.
Oh, was that Charlie? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't do notes. Yeah.
There was the import feature worked fine, except for specific notes that he had made, and once he removed those, it imported fine. So I don't know if anybody else had the same trouble. But.
Yeah, he said that if he did secure notes, it worked absolutely fine, but he was adding his own notes into the field somewhere because he was putting his security questions, but he changed the name. So if it had said what's your dad's name, he was making up a new name, but he couldn't remember what the new name was that he was making up. So he added it in extra fields, and when he tried to export that, the CSV file had mixed up some of the fields rather than putting it in secure note.
All right, Barbara. Hold on, you're muted. Try it now.
The cat struck.
Hold on.
Get
it? There you go.
Yeah, got it. I'm in the same. I agree with Colin. First of all, I don't have a gazillion passwords, so it almost doesn't pay. And where I work, we have one password to get into everything. That's the way the school does it, so I have no idea. But other than that, I just don't have enough of them, and I also don't like the fact that my passwords are sitting someplace else, and I don't have control of them. I don't know, and maybe I'm a Luddite in some respects, or I just don't trust it, or
you don't hear that word too often.
Huh?
You don't hear that too often.
Yeah, no, but I just I don't know. Maybe I don't feel comfortable using one, so I don't use it.
You're not alone, Mark.
Huh?
You're not alone. There's many people that don't feel comfortable. And it's not when we use these programs like for me, I don't blame anybody for not using it. And if I only had 20 passwords, I probably wouldn't be using a password manager either, but I have way more than that. So
Yeah, no, I don't have anything close to what you have. I mean, mine are still in the low double digits.
Yeah.
So, but
Thomas.
that's just me.
Hello.
What up?
Not much, you?
Just hanging out, talking.
Okay. Nice. So I did download and install Bitwarden. I use the Snap because it's not available as a deb. I do not use password managers normally, and getting into that sort of groove of learning to use a password manager, I just didn't happen. So I didn't test out Bitwarden. It was useful though in showing some Cub Scouts last night how to make a good secure password. So, it was useful for that since I didn't have internet. But beyond that, I haven't really used that. So,
all right, Eric, you tried it. Come on.
Tried it. I've been using it for a long time. Yeah, I've been using it for probably close to a year now, and for some of the same reasons that Adam mentioned. So I use it a lot on mobile devices and on Android, especially on a phone on a small screen. LastPass wants to take over every form field. It's really annoying. It just got to a point where I literally couldn't stand it anymore, and so I started looking for alternatives. I found Bitwarden by chance and found that it was open source, and was just sort of looked into the background of it, read some background on it, and was really impressed by it. In the time that I've been using it, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's everything LastPass gave me, plus I feel better supporting them as an organization. I was really not happy when LastPass got bought out by LogMeIn. Again, it's just an open source preference over a closed source one. I've used LogMeIn in the past and wasn't a huge fan of it, so that's another reason. But the notes that I mentioned last week that started this whole debacle, maybe, and I'm glad we did it, just because I'm glad that we've had so much discussion on security. It's interesting to see how many people remember passwords without using a password manager. I'm in the same boat as you, Rocco. Like, I've just got too many. I can't possibly remember them all, and especially for sites that I only go to every so often and aren't really that important, but I still need a login.
Yep.
Forums, like, think of all of the communities you go to, and so anyway, for me, it's perfect. It does everything I want it to do. I did want to mention that someone brought up in the Telegram group that if you have websites that require you to change your password on a regular basis, that LastPass apparently has an ability to set an expiration date on a password, so it'll remind you to change it. And that feature has been requested and is in the Bitwarden forum several times. I haven't seen a response from any of the developers to say that it's something they're going to include at some point. So if you do need that feature in LastPass and you're trying to move over to Bitwarden, then you may not be able to because of that. But otherwise, as far as I know, it does everything that LastPass does, and other things that it doesn't do, and the things that it does do better, in my opinion. So.
All right, Army, Bitwarden.
Yeah, it's good.
That's it. That's all you got, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think I talked enough on the last one. Right. I'm quite tired. No, it's good. I like it. I've been using it for a few months. I've just been while people were talking before, I was having a look at some of the stuff that you can get online that you can't get in the extension. So when you go log into your Vault, and it goes through a few more of what you can get when you if you have a premium account. And I know that you can do a lot of this on LastPass as well. But I've just put my email address into the data breach report. It's quite good. It's come up with all the websites that were breached, when they were breached, what was compromised. So, for example, it has the Linux Mint breach in February 2016, and it says exactly what happened there. And I haven't used LastPass for a while, so I can't remember how they did it. And I know that if you have the premium account, you can it can scan your thing and see if your passwords pop up with if they've ever been used and things like that, which is quite common now in a lot of these password generators. Other than that, I found it really good. One thing we talked about off stream. I could not get Bitwarden to install on my iPad, and it's an iPad 4. It's the last 32-bit iPad that came out before the Mini came out. And when you try and install it, it's fully up to date, iOS 10.3.3, and it just says this can't be installed on this version of the iPad. So if you've got an older one, it won't work. And the weird thing is, I do have LastPass installed on it, but that's been on there for a few years. So whether or not that will still install if it was uninstalled, I don't know. But yeah, Bitwarden, we tried it live off the stream earlier tonight, and it just wouldn't have it.
You were going to try though using Chrome with the extension. Did you?
I did, yeah. I tried. I've got Chrome on the iPad as well. You can't run extensions on the iPad. When you go into the extension part, it comes up with, yes, you can have this extension on Chrome. And that was in Chrome. And then when you click it, it tries to, you go to download, it just takes you to the app page and it says it's already installed. So I think you can only do it on the desktop or and not in the actual iOS app, or not, at least on the iPad I've got.
Yeah. All right. Silent.
I didn't use it. I don't use it. All my passwords are inside my robot brain.
And that's good enough.
That's where they need to be. That's good enough for me. I can remember them all.
Binary, baby.
Binary rules.
So
11001101.
I mean,
that way nobody understands.
I know you're a robot and everything, but do you have a lot of passwords?
Do I have what? Sorry?
Do you have a lot of passwords?
I have enough to be worried about if my memory starts failing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how many is enough to have to be able to do, like, I don't know, you guys that do your by memory, how many passwords do you have? Were we talking hundreds? Are we talking tens?
I think I have somewhere around 10 to 15 with varying levels of security. And I use the less secure ones on websites I do not care about. And I use the more secure ones for websites I do care about. And then my most secure ones I only use locally because that's where all the most sensitive information is.
I have a pretty good memory. I mean, when I was doing system installs, I'd have anywhere between 10 and 15 Windows keys stored in my brain that I could just recall. So passwords are pretty easy compared to that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Must be nice.
And at work, I mean, for my administrator accounts, we need 16 characters. You know, and so I'll probably take my standard account and just do a chopped off form of that. But other than that, it's just muscle memory almost.
Yeah, if I had to remember more than 6, I'd be in trouble.
Variations on a theme.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, so yeah, I mean, I guess I get somewhat complacent in that I have some sort of device, you know, whether that's password manager application or I've written it down and stored it away someplace safe or whatever. I mean, yeah, so I don't know, I use my brain for something else, I guess.
Right.
I thank Shakespeare for mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had it recommended one time to use the first line from a poem that you always know and just throw in some special characters here and there.
Right.
But for the long ones, I've got a couple 25 to 35 character passwords that are the first lines of poems that I wrote. So,
can you share me with those poems? I would love to read them. I'm really interested in them.
I can give you page numbers and paragraphs.
I've done nonsensical Spanish phrases too. You know, like long time ago, I used no más pantalones. You know, and I misspelled pantalones on purpose. And
that's a good one.
Speaking of prophetic, did you try Bitwarden?
No, I didn't. It was a busy week for me.
Sounds like excuses to me, dude.
Yeah, it was a busy week, and I was busy shopping for typewriters too. So
busy setting up ETS.
So
yeah, that too.
Did you get
it took me forever to configure ATS too. That was probably top of priority.
Did you get a typewriter?
What was that?
Did you get a typewriter?
No, but I got a green light from Uefi to set aside a budget for it. So I'm eyeing like 2 machines that I'm really excited about.
Nice.
So
are they on eBay? Do I have to bid against you or something?
no, that's rule number 1. Never buy typewriters from eBay, because even if they're like perfect condition, like they're such a antique device that even if you package them well, they can just still crack on delivery. So I'm going local on this one.
Local pawn shops, huh?
Yeah, they actually have Philadelphia is probably the only city in the country that actually has 2 typewriter shops. So that's where I'm going.
Nice.
Probably due to the Amish population in the area.
They wouldn't even use that.
They don't.
They wouldn't even.
No. Oh,
They handwrite everything.
Non-electric.
It's the blast of hipster population in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
Do you have to
But
log
there
into that?
is some company somewhere that still makes typewriters,
Correct.
and I can't think of who it is.
I don't know the name of them, but they do it for high security and prison systems, because they actually have clear typewriters, so they can see the guts inside. They still have those.
Prophetic, are they Blues or Cherry MX?
They're I guess the originals before that even was even a thing. They're super tactile and they're super clicky. So I'm assuming like beta blues, I guess you can call them. I don't know.
Oh, man.
So what typewriters are you actually eyeballing?
Smith Corona. I'm sorry, I got asked a question, so I have to nerd out for a second. Smith Corona, and there's one by Remington that I'm super interested in.
The shotgun guys.
Oh yeah, that's the irony of it, is that one of the big things that Remington got into was the typewriter business, because they had the factories to produce metal materials for the guns. It was just like a natural thing to do the typewriters for people who are in battlefields. They have to send messages. Remington was like the number 1 thing for that. So that's what's pretty cool about it. Some like history of wartime messaging with those machines. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
So yeah.
So there's Bit Warden. There's our take on it. Anybody have anything they want to recommend to people for best password practices?
Make them complex.
One at a time.
Make them long.
Okay, go, Thomas.
Make them long, make them complex.
There are several sites out there that test complexity of passwords. Use them.
Anybody else?
That's a good one.
Don't use dictionary words. Use random characters, special characters. They shouldn't make sense. And one of the golden rules many people say is, if the password can be remembered, it can be hacked. That's
I thought actually that even like using like nonsensical sentences was actually a better or just as secure as goofy numbers.
That's what I heard too.
That's actually I've read that. I've read that numerous times.
Between words, because then like those code breakers, they can't tell the difference between a hyphen and a letter or a number.
For now,
just make sure that your password isn't like a single word, because there are certain ways of cracking passwords where they actually have a dictionary of words, and they just check it against that. So make sure that your password is not a single word.
Monkey
Also,
1, 2, 3, 4 for the win.
They also put like multiple words, string multiple words together and test them. And like I saw rules, basically each one creates their own rules that like underscores between each letter, changing letters for numbers, and there is no such like people like to do lead speak or stuff like that. It's not secure. Nothing where you have an actual word that can be resolved easily is secure. It needs to be a random string of characters to actually. So it actually cannot be dictionary attacked, and with that it actually goes for like brute force attack, and then if it's 16 or 20 characters depending on what hash is used in the background, it just can't be cracked. At the current level, from normal people, non-state actors. If it's state actors, then there is no chance, even with 64 character passwords, they won't crack it. They just will. They have the power to do it.
Quantum computing.
Supercomputing.
That's the only only way you can get past most passwords these days that are good is through quantum computing.
And they're still several years off on that. So
yeah, practically.
Governments have supercomputers they can use to crack like huge numbers of passwords in time that takes normal hackers like years. Governments take seconds since they have supercomputers, and old government computers, there's a lot of them, so they can actually slave whatever they need and they can crack whatever they want.
Of course, if you have a hard time making good secure passwords, you can literally just go on Google, type in strong password generator, and the first link is a website that I use all the time, and the website uses your machine to generate the passwords, and that works. Of course, the longer it is, the better. My strongest password, I won't reveal the length, but I did the math, and it would take 12 times the age of the universe for a typical computer to crack it through brute force. And something like that is what you want to be able to see, is some sort of multiple of the age of the universe, something like that. So if you're not going to live to see the cracking of your password, it's probably secure enough.
Challenge accepted.
Yes, remember, Michael has all his 128 character passwords.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that ain't getting cracked anytime soon.
Michael's the guy that can talk about Bitwarden.
I work for every server 32 character, 30 character. So yeah, and LastPass and Bitwarden can both generate you such secure passwords.
Basically, if you use every key on your keyboard, it's secure.
8 characters is good enough.
I'm just going to say...
No, 8 characters is not good enough for anything anymore. Basically, a normal computer can crack it in seconds or minutes.
I'm just going to say the reason you should use Bitwarden is because it has a dark option.
Yes, I noticed that, and I liked it. It has 2 dark options. Did you see that? There's 2 dark options.
No, I did not see
dark and night or something.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
they have
I got excited.
That's fancy.
Buttons on the correct side of the window.
I added a link in the Zoom chat earlier for you can do a search for Adobe crossword, because Adobe had a huge, massive hack. Was it 2-3 years ago? Someone made a game out of all the leaked passwords and all the password clues, so you can get all these different crosswords that pop up, and then you get all the popular hint things that come up. So and you have to try and guess the password. But if you press just reveal, you can just see what people are putting. And there's things like, it is Adobe, and people are using passwords like Dreamweaver or Adobe or Macromedia or Test. And you just think, what ASDFGH?
People literally use password 1 and think that it's a good password. Like, no one would ever guess that. Like, what?
No, because in a year's time, when you change it, you can change it to password 2.
Yeah.
I think the best password I've ever heard, it was literally, "Have you forgotten your password?" That was their password.
I think the best password is Hunter too.
I just think that's the best password because
that's a reference that not many people got.
I just think it's the best password because it's so funny, and every time you go to, log into a site, there's a little link right there that says, "Have you forgotten your password?" You just put that in.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's a lot of websites that will block the use of Hunter 2 because there's a meme where someone goes to a chat room and they say, and they type in their password, and they say, "Hey, I just typed in my password," but all it showed was these asterisks. So some IRC is blocking my passwords, and then someone said, "Oh, really? Let me try it, Hunter 2."
Yeah.
And they respond with, "Oh, all I see is asterisks." Well, that's weird.
Ouch.
Well, the best password I heard is incorrect, because if you get it wrong, it'll tell you that your password is incorrect.
Nice. I like it.
That's the best one.
That's
I should spell it with a K just to make sure.
Yeah. What's funny is I've heard people ask when the system says either your password or your username or password is incorrect, and they say, well, don't you know? And it's like, yes, it knows which is incorrect, but hacker doesn't.
Right.
So do they have the correct username, or do they have the wrong password? You know?
That way you could also have both and it's still the same question, still the same answer. So
Yeah.
Bitwarden's the best.
Actually, that's the main reason.
What else? What else are you gonna say about Bitwarden, Michael?
It's the best.
So, okay, so I gotta ask.
And Michael's never wrong, so
you can back up your passwords to your, you can self-host them basically.
You can self-host it, yes.
But by default, it doesn't do that, correct?
No. By depends on what you mean by default. Like if you just download the server software and then put it on your server, then by default it's on your server.
No,
software.
I mean like if you just download Bitwarden from the site as an app onto your desktop.
It will ask you whether you have an account or are you self-hosting, so you can tell it before. So like if you just log in to the hosted version, then by default it's going to be the hosted stuff.
The first question is, do you want to sync or do you want to open a file on your local machine to get your passwords?
Right.
So it asks you where you normally store them.
Yeah, and you can have it say using a separate server if you have it hosted somewhere on a separate server. So you could do it in a variety of ways. But the desktop Electron app asks you before you sign in which one do you want to do. Okay. But I think you have to specifically, if you do it on the extension for the browser, I think you specifically have to go into the settings and say that you use it for a self-hosted.
Right. All right. That's about all we got for Bitwarden. It's a great program.
Yep, it is.
If you are using, your memory and your memory is not good enough right now, or you are using Firefox for your passwords, Ron, I'm not pointing you out at all, but you should probably try a more secure system. And Bitwarden is open source and been vetted for the code, so it's definitely something to check out.
And in the words of Dosky, $10 a year, that's darn near free.
And if you like Bitwarden, you should support them. I forget who was in the chat the last show said about the free version works great, so there's no need to pay for it. But if you like the software and it works great for you, then you should support it.
Yeah, I mean it's also $10 per year, so it's definitely worth it.
Yes.
And it's also not owned by LogMeIn, which doesn't care about any of their users. So
hey, that was
there's
loud.
that. Yeah, that was pretty loud.
Sorry.
Yes.
But so anyway, Bitwarden is really good. And also, just to be specific, there is one feature that I love about Bitwarden that makes any other option annoying. And as soon as I used Bitwarden and found that they had this, I was like, this is the best. It makes it so easy to do a PIN system. So like on your phone with like LastPass or anything else, it has this ridiculous thing. Like, do you want to save your ridiculously long password, which is not secure in any way whatsoever? So if somebody touches your phone, they have access to your passwords. So no. Do you want to type in your ridiculously long password over and over every time you get to your passwords? No. Bitwarden just says, do you want to set up, you would log in once with your manual password, like the super long way. Now would you like to set up a PIN so that every time you need to get back to it, you got to enter a 4-digit PIN, and it takes 5 seconds or less really to get into your app much easier. Such a cool feature. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm switching immediately.
It also works.
Yeah, just briefly. Oh, sorry, never mind. Who was speaking?
I said it also works with your fingerprint reader on your phone if you don't want to do the PIN.
Nice.
And I found that NPass did that because I was using NPass for a long time, but I switched off NPass purely because compared to I found NPass was better than LastPass for the same reason. You could do a PIN, you could do your fingerprint. It was much better, but it was closed source.
There's another feature that I found interesting. So if you have a particular website that you don't want, so let's say you're logged into the app, the browser extension, but you can add a second verification for it to fill in. So like, for example, I did it with my bank website. So I keep doing it too, Rocco, LastPass. Bitwarden, good marketing there. Bitwarden, you can say require additional or require your master password to fill this. So I thought that was interesting. There's like a second step there that you can enable for certain sites. So
Nice, I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, you might leave the extension logged in, right? Because you can set whether it locks itself after you close the browser or after a certain amount of time. And so I have it set so once I close the browser, I have to log back in. But once I'm logged in, if I walk away from my computer, let's say there's a really sensitive site, I could make it force that particular one to prompt for the password again. So anyway.
I found one slightly annoying thing when doing it on mobile was I don't know if it was just the site I was on. I haven't tried it since, but I set up a password on my main machine, and then I was on my phone and I wanted to get into the same account, and it came up with I'm sorry, but this, I can't find it. So you did a little search, and there it was, and it came up with them. Oh, sorry, you're trying to use the Android version. Yeah, that's fine. Do you want me to save this? So I said yes, and then next time I was on my desktop, it couldn't find it because it changed it to the Android version. It changed the URL to the Android one, so I had to change it back and it said, oh, sorry, would you like to save it? Yes, I would. And I was thinking, can you not just have, can you not detect that it's the Android one and say I'll save it as a separate one so it pops up? And it's done it in a few things.
That's pretty weird. The best thing to do is just to disable, like cut off the ending string of whatever it is and just do the domain, and that way no matter what, it'll just pick up the domain, or if the app has a specific reference to the domain, it'll pick that up too.
I think because I think it went from being HTTPS : blah 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 to just Android dot and then what the address was.
Yeah, it's just better to keep the empty, just the domain itself, and that's the most reliable way for it not to do that.
Yeah, and not even have like .com or .org or whatever.
No, you can have .com. Just have the whatever the domain is plus like the .com, the TLD, and then anything after that or any subdomains, just dismiss that because it'll treat them as separate.
So even if it says / digital.
No, it should. Even if it does say that, leave it. For sure.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's actually a setting in the options to use the base domain for the the default match detection.
I'll have to go look at that. But
that annoys me.
For those that are a bit wary about using it, if you have a lot of passwords, you don't necessarily have to put them all in the application if you don't want to. It's just something to keep in mind. For the lesser accounts, if you want to put them in and you don't want to put your more secure accounts in there, that you can do it that way. The other thing I was going to ask is, I know Michael Tadell was mentioning the PIN on the phone. Do you know if that actually works with something like a YubiKey as well?
It does. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I think it requires the premium. Yeah, the premium version requires it works with a YubiKey as well as any. I think it's called NICO 2 type of device.
I think there's a couple of different devices that get opened up when you get the premium version.
Yeah. But the really cool about the reason I like the YubiKey is because it has NFC built into it, and it works with the NFC, so you don't actually have to do anything as far as like plugging it in or whatever.
I think I'm waiting on the solo key tap or whatever it is.
Yeah, because some of those keys have like you need to have an adapter or a USB FIDO. That's better. FIDO 2. I knew it was something 02. So there's like that. Some of them have like the USB Type C, which if you have that, you're pretty much good to go because some of these devices have the USB Type C connector. But if you don't, an adapter, it just makes it so much of a pain. So that the NFC, you just hold it to the back, and then it's good to go.
Somewhat tangential to what Michael just brought up. Google Android devices are now FIDO devices. Now you can have your phone send a notification to your phone, and then if you press yes on the phone, then it allows you to access your account. It's now a feature in Google services now. So
yeah, you could do that with text messaging as well.
Well, this is without a text message. It's just a notification. It fills up your entire screen. You press yes, and then it allows you to go into your Google services.
Right. They also have they've had it with the Google Authenticator as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want Google to be my authenticator anyway.
Well, I use Uefi.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've been using Bitwarden for a while. I got recommended to it by Noah. Actually, he's the one who recommended it to me from his radio show.
I told him to use it. Shameless plug.
No.
Hey, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So
there you go.
Okay, yeah. So, and I love Bitwarden. The only thing that I don't like about Bitwarden is on mobile. Sometimes when you have to enter your password into a mobile website on Chrome, you have to tap into the credentials, and multiple times, even though it doesn't recognize the website. Like, say if I was opening a web page for a certain website for a certain website, and I press the credential places, I then go into Bitwarden, unlock it with my fingerprint, and it detects the Chrome app, but not the actual website. But then, sometimes, even though it detects your website, you press into your credentials that you use.
I have a solution for you.
It doesn't fill in for you.
Stop using Chrome.
Yeah, don't use the Chrome. Use Firefox on the Android, and it works every time. And that's not even just like a joke about the Firefox versus Chrome. I've tested it on a Chrome. It's like 50-50. With Firefox, it has always worked.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Vivaldi mobile browser. I'm just waiting for that coming out soon. So
yeah, Firefox is better anyway.
JJ, you got some personal messages in the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
Can you lower your volume, please, mate?
Ritual.
Oops.
Well, how do you
sorry
manage your
about
passwords, brother?
Sorry. Is this a lot better?
No.
Lower a little more.
Yeah.
Better?
Better.
Too much.
It's too low.
Hot mic.
It's perfect.
Too low.
Oh, hold on. It might be the bad one. It might be the... Darn it.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Where you are now is good.
Yeah, I think it's currently on my laptop mic. That's the thing.
Okay.
Darn it.
No, that's actually better. A laptop mic was probably what you were using.
Yeah.
Nah. Okay, I'll be right back.
That sounds good if you want to leave it there, but
Ritual.
Hey guys.
How do you manage your passwords, brother?
Before it was kind of the old school way. I hate to admit it, but I was just using a little unencrypted note-taking app on my phone, which is, I know, pretty bad. But I did, for a long time, I was using an app blocker. So I would, whatever it used for encryption, I would kind of rely on that, which I'm sure wasn't all that great. So this gave me a good excuse to try something new. Otherwise, I mean, I'd be using a piece of paper and a pencil because and same thing goes with this Bitwarden. I'm kind of hesitant with the whole server-based thing. Like, I just kind of like having things within my grasp, like say, like, kind of locally, you know. But that being said, I still tried it this week, even though it was kind of short-lived. I tried it. It seemed cool. Like, it was pretty easy to set up. Wait, let me get my pencil and paper.
By the way, Ritual, you can store the passwords for Bitwarden locally on your computer.
Yeah, I think it does, right? I mean, in a certain directory in Mozilla, or
No. If you choose to do that, it will store it locally. By default, if you have an account, you create an account, it's stored on their servers. You can also host it on your own computer or host it on a separate server that you control. So like, you can do whatever you want with them.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have access to a server, so.
Right, but I said also you can do it locally on your own computer too.
If only someone would offer a DigitalOcean coupon.
Yeah, you should go to .co/DL. There you go.
Wow.
So
I had to do it.
But when
Good call, Eric. Good call.
Time for those shameless plugs, man.
Telling you.
I would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Ever.
Everybody else does it for him.
Sometimes.
I know, right? What's up with that?
Or at least they'll remind me, and I appreciate that.
So I used it for a little bit, and maybe I'll give it another whirl sometime. But like I said, the whole server thing, like I wasn't too sure. Like, for the short amount of time, the way I understood it, you had to log in, and then you type in a password. You had
It
to
is
log
an
in
option.
and lock it.
You can lock it. Yes, you don't have to lock it. It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah, but you had to be logged in either way, right?
Well, you have to log in to get access, but the login can be a local login, or it can be your own server login. So if you just run the Docker file on your computer, then you have it running, and you have your local server you have a server basically, but on your computer.
So you wouldn't do the regular, you wouldn't just download it. You would have to download a Docker image of it to run on your computer if you wanted to store it locally.
Right. Well, I mean, the Docker instance, I think you can actually store locally, but I don't remember how. But I know you can download the Docker file and run the Docker on your computer or on a server and then store it there. That way, all the stuff is still using the encryption through Bitwarden, but it's stored for only you have access anyway. Even though if they do have access based on their code, all the stuff that's put on their servers is random gibberish anyway, so they can't use it without your password. So it doesn't really matter. But if you're concerned about that kind of thing, you could still store it locally as well.
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I know it's encrypted, so that's the bottom line. Like, it's going to be safe. Like, I know that, but like, I wasn't sure if I would be able to log. Like, say if their servers went down, would I still be able to log in if their servers were down?
If their servers are down, no, unless if you're using their hosted version. But if you're using your own thing, then yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I ended up it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I think it'd be awesome for most people. Maybe call me paranoid or whatever.
Well, again, you're not alone. There's many people that just don't want to go that route. So nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, and I kind of got that feeling too from what I've been reading, just kind of researching different passwords, because this whole managing passwords with some sort of app or some sort of program is totally new to me. Like I said, I've never tried it before this week. But I was kind of getting that sentiment from others, from what I was reading in various forums and whatnot. But I think for the masses, like the ease in being able to sync from mobile to your PC, the app is feature rich. So I think most people would get on board. I haven't tried too many other ones, but from what I was reading, Bitwarden kind of stands up to some of the more well-known, like LastPass and some of the other more well-known password managers. So that's pretty cool, considering it's pretty new. So I tried it for a little bit. I ended up switching over to just the Unix password manager Pass. I switched over to that. That handles password encryption via GPG encryption.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a good one.
And it's Unix, so it's a little closer, and it stores everything locally. It communicates via GPG encryption. I know there's a Chrome extension and a Firefox extension. You can install it via their store, or you can install it directly from stores if you want to go that way. So I do have the add-on for Firefox, and it can communicate that way, and it unlocks my password via GPG. It has a timer, so it doesn't cache anything for longer than whatever time I set it, and it's really easy to set up. The only catch is it's terminal-based. You do everything in terminal, but it's as easy as just typing pass, edit, whatever you want, or it's just really, really simple. And it seems pretty safe to me, and everything's stored locally, and so and yeah, I'm kind of happy where I am. I'm glad I tried out Bitwarden, only to lead me to Pass, so I'm pretty stoked on that.
Nice.
Pass is good. They also have there's a Qt Pass or Q Pass.
Yeah, Qt Pass. Yeah, that was the only. There's a couple other ones too, but that was the only one that seemed to work for me. Like, it seems like there's not a lot of development around Pass, that password manager, which is kind of unfortunate because it's pretty simple. But there you go. This was a good week too, because I am the proud father of 2 orphan AUR packages. I just learned how to
so adorable.
maintain my own packages for AUR.
And what did you name them?
Yeah, I'm a proud father now.
We want
That's
pics.
awesome.
What's that?
We want pics.
Yeah.
We want pictures.
Oh, pictures.
Screenshots.
We need that. We need a video of the first build.
Oh God.
No, I don't know if you want this. One of the packages I picked up, I actually created it. So I have 3 packages right now that I'm maintaining. One of them would not be. I picked it up from some random Reddit post on one of the subreddits there, and it's a little vulgar. It's a file manager for terminal, but there's F-bombs throughout. So I picked it up. That was my. I figured no one's probably going to use this. There's F-bombs all over. No one's going to take it serious. So I'm like, maybe I should try this out. That way I'm not going to be getting a bunch of stupid questions my way on the AUR, you know. So I kind of stepped into the pool that way. But in the process of setting all this up, I had to re-sign up for the Arch page for the AUR. So I had a bunch of new passwords. I think I picked up like 6 passwords throughout this week. So I'm like, this is the perfect time to learn how to use a password manager. So it was good timing.
Speaking of on the same general lines, does anybody know, and I'm trying to find out more information on it and how well it works and if it's safe or whatever, privacy.com, does anybody know anything about it? It's for
for credit cards.
Virtual credit cards, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it before. I've never seen anyone do audio, but I've seen people talking about it and promoting it on like podcasts and stuff.
Right.
But I've never seen anyone do any auditing or explain how it's structured. And I've seen it done before. I mean, PayPal used to do it a long time ago, but I haven't seen anything about this company.
Well, other credit card companies are doing ghosted credit card numbers, if that's for lack of a better term. Like you can actually do quote unquote virtual credit card numbers from your own credit card company. I think Chase and Citi are doing it, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the best thing about so actually credit cards is an interesting topic because you don't really have to care if someone gets your credit card. You can just cancel it.
Well,
no, there's actually been. You ever heard that? Have you ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Which one? Which one or the new
It's
one?
one of my favorites.
The only one. So
I said one of my favorites.
I know, but
It's
he
in my
said
top
the new one or the old one is like there's only one.
There's only one.
Yeah. So the movie is really interesting. It's about, if you haven't seen it, it's about a guy who's basically a con man, and he's a criminal who gets caught by the FBI and then becomes an FBI consultant and all this other stuff. But it's really cool that it's based on a real dude, and his name's Frank Abagnale, and he did a press conference or like a talk, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it if you want. And at the end of the talk, someone asked him, what is the number one suggestion you could have for someone to have financial stability as far as protection and security goes? Because he's been working with the FBI for decades now. He said the best suggestion he could ever give is if you have a debit card, tear it up, throw it away. Don't use it ever. Replace it with a credit card. Because if you do, then you have, if someone steals your credit card information and they use it, they have access directly to your money. And then if they take your money, good luck with your bank giving you money back. But if they take access to a credit card, then they take away potentially a small amount of time for having access to the fictitious money that it doesn't actually exist. So you could just call your credit card company, say, stop this card. It didn't happen. It's not me. And then you're done. So he's like, and he said he would never have a debit card in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Frank dude actually lives in the state where I reside. So I think I've heard about him recently on the radio on my local radio station. So.
Alrighty. Well, I'm just saying like that it's interesting because it's like, we don't really have to have a protection of your credit card if you just use just credit cards because they are themselves protection.
Well, you also, maybe you want to track which purchases have been scammed. Like instead of having a monolith card number from your company, maybe have different card numbers for your different stuff, such as your Amazon, such as your other e-commerce sites. And then you can triage if something were to happen and it's just a virtual card number, You don't need to go and start all over again with getting a new card, waiting a few days.
That's an interesting point.
That sounds too complex for me.
Hey, people here use a lot of people here use password managers. So
yep. All right.
What about things like Google Pay and
those are token based, if I'm not mistaken. They're token based because those transactions are just like one-time tokens. Even if they did steal the token card number from there, they wouldn't be able to use it. Michael, you have anything to correct me with?
In this particular thing, I've never used that, so I don't know.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's token based. It's like a token-ish type situation.
You still have to put your credit cards in those apps, so
yeah, but it creates a one-time token for the individual transaction.
Right.
Whereas the privacy actually creates a card number for a site that will maintain until you kill it for that site.
That's pretty cool.
Create one-offs.
I mean, it's interesting, and I used to use the PayPal feature when they did that. So it's a cool idea, and in a way, if you don't give them your debit card, you really don't have that much to worry about, because the same theory goes towards them. Because if they have access to your debit credit card and your credit card gets used, you can just cancel it and reissue one. But if it's your debit card, then that could be a problem. So even if you did use them, in theory, it might not be a big deal anyway.
They can have the $5 in my account. Go ahead.
All right.
That's your membership minimum, I think.
We have to pick a distro for next week before we move on. So, anybody have any suggestions?
I have a weird suggestion if you want.
Shocking.
What? I mean, there's this one I covered on this latest episode of This Week in Linux. It's Arch-based, and it's interesting. It's called Condris, something like that. And it's one of those Arch-made user-friendly thing.
You just said something like that?
I don't know how to say it because I've never heard anybody say it. And also,
releases pronunciation videos.
Well, it's hard because the distribution is based in Italy, except they used a word that's not Italian at all. So I couldn't really figure out what it was supposed to be.
And he hasn't released a video on it yet, so that's why he can get away with saying he doesn't know how to say it.
Exactly. And also, I said it in the episode where I go, I don't know how to say it right or not. So, I got that little trick.
This is going to be my suggestion. We had tried Elementary, and then we tried OpenSUSE to coincide with Jason Evangelo's challenge, and I suggest that we continue that and check out Fedora 29, because that's what his challenge is at the moment. So we did Fedora 29 beta. The 1 week on Biddle, we did Fedora 29 beta, but we also, it wasn't solely Fedora 29. It was a choice between Fedora 29 and a CLI based distro, and a lot of people picked CLI based and everything. So we really didn't give Fedora a full tryout, and it's obviously out of beta. It's supposed to be rock solid, so I suggest we go with that. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
that's my daily driver. I mean, that's
wasn't 29 out for a while ago?
It's been out a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Can we pick any spin with any DE, or do we have to use the GNOME? Because he went for the GNOME.
He went for the GNOME, but I mean, I don't think we have to. I don't think we have to stick to a DE as long as it's Fedora 29. You can give your opinion.
And what's wrong with GNOME?
I love GNOME. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with GNOME.
You should be sorry.
That's why there's choice. For those that don't know, if you go technically for Fedora spins, they've already got like KDE, Cinnamon, XFCE.
Cinnamon.
LXQT. Yeah, they've got like 6. I think like 6 or 5 or 6. All the major desktops are represented. So
yeah.
Everybody in agreement? We do Fedora 29.
Fedora 29?
On by me.
Sure, why not?
Sure, makes it easy on me.
Direct on real hardware.
Rocco, Plasma works great on 29. So,
well, Thomas, that's
Yeah,
what we're
right,
here for, to make it easy on you.
Of course you are.
Because
Of
Linux
course
is supposed
you
to hurt.
Of course it is.
So
At least it hurts less than Windows.
Everybody in chat probably has seen already that Zoom has been freezing on me. And it happened during the Europe edition. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it. So it will freeze for about 15 to 20 seconds. And I can't access any of the controls. Everybody's camera will be frozen. And then it'll come back. My camera will be frozen still. Everybody else's will be fine. And I have to turn my video off and back on to get the video to play again. I don't know if it's a camera issue where my Logitech camera is going goofy with it, or if it's a Zoom issue with the camera. So it just started happening this week, and I'm not sure where to go with it.
That was happening to me last week too.
I've had a similar
today too.
I've had a similar issue. What's happened to me both last week and this week is Zoom completely freezes up. Everybody else's video feed stops and audio stops, and then Zoom basically restarts and puts me back into the stream. And I have no idea why it happens.
Mine's not fully stopped, but my audio stopped
today.
for a second or two.
It was probably a Zoom thing.
Maybe and you are on Fedora 29 right now, is that right, Rocco?
No, well, okay, so the Europe stream I did on Arch Plasma, which is what I normally run, and that was where it was happening. So I booted into Fedora 29 to start this stream, and that's when I had the issues pre-show, and I had to redo it and everything. So I booted back into Arch Plasma, and that's what I'm on. So it's still, no matter if it's Fedora or Arch, it's happening, no matter if it's KDE or GNOME. So I'm thinking it has something to do with the hardware. Either my Logitech camera or Zoom itself had a wonky update.
Are you using the application, or are you using it via browser?
No, I have to use the application in order to connect everybody.
Okay, because I'm doing it via browser and I'm getting issues too. So,
have you tried Flatpak or Snap or something? Maybe that might be a better option.
Is there Zoom Snap?
There is a Flatpak. I don't know.
I've got Zoom. I'm running Zoom Flatpak now. That's in Flatpak. That's what I'm running now. So seems to be working all right so far.
Well, I don't know what's going on.
I think the better question.
Go ahead.
I think the better question is: Are any pixels out of place?
You know they're out of place, Dan,
Oh, okay.
if they aren't working properly.
Well, how can they be out of place if they're frozen in place?
Because they're supposed to be moving, and they're not.
They're out of place when he restarts.
So
Rocco, you're running it from the AUR.
Yeah.
That's where you installed it from. Yeah, I had a problem with it once too from the AUR, and I haven't checked that page recently, so you may want to do that. I don't know.
I'll have to check it out. But like I said, it happens. The same thing's happening on Fedora.
Tell you what, I'll check right now.
I've got a question, Rocco, just a general one. If I could bring something up,
bring it.
I'm running Pure OS at the moment, and that's what I'm on today. Running Zoom as a Flatpak now. My question is, I quite like Pure OS. I've sort of come to like it, but it doesn't have Uefi install. So my question is, does Uefi really matter today? Do we really need to have it? What's the benefits or the pros and cons to Uefi? Can anyone tell me?
Secure boot?
There is secure boot. UEFI is also significantly faster than BIOS, and it allows more features. So you'll see sometimes on certain motherboards, this is specifically more often with higher-end motherboards, you may actually have mouse emulation on the straight-up UEFI, and you won't on a BIOS. UEFI is also, as I said, able to boot faster. It's also built more for the way OSs work nowadays. So nowadays, with modern versions of Linux and Windows and Mac OS, once the OS boots, it takes over for the BIOS. And because of that, your BIOS, if you're actually using a BIOS, it's basically just sitting there and doing nothing. Whereas UEFI, because it's actually written for that, for it to actually work like that, it works with that a little bit better than a normal BIOS would. It's a little bit more of a pain in the butt to install your OS on if you're going to change your OS. So if you go buy a computer that comes with Windows, then installing Linux on that is a little bit more of a pain. But once you understand how it works, yes, it's still a pain, but it's not as big of a pain once you understand it. But overall, the biggest differences you get is performance. If you want to deal with secure boot, you get some extra security. Sometimes you'll want to disable it. Sometimes you'll want to enable it, depending on what you're doing. But basically just performance.
Also, it has better support for GPT. That's why, yeah, GPT. Yeah. That's one of the big ones.
But I only say that. Sorry.
And just to let you know, the current OptiPluxes and Latitudes from Dell are strictly Uefi. There is no legacy BIOS on them.
Yeah, because BIOS support, like actually legacy BIOS support, is needed less and less nowadays. Modern computers are shipping with it less and less. I know certain ThinkPads do. My computer did not. My desktop did ship with it, but my desktop is from like 2007, so that is expected. But if you were to go buy a new computer nowadays, it's like I'd say a 40% chance it won't even have BIOS support. It'll just be UEFI.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. So it's if you can work with it, then definitely use it. But if you can't, it's not gonna necessarily kill your user experience. So use it if you can.
I've got no problem with, look, I'm used to BIOS installs anyway. It's just that I've been using UEFI for the last probably 12 months easy now, and multi-booting with a heap of UEFIs, which seems to be a lot easier than, using Grub because everything's picked up. But just because I've come across this distro and I like it and it doesn't have EFI support, it's just torn me a bit. But I mean, if it's not running on the one device, then that's not so bad. So, and what's the advantages of GPT? Is GPT quicker, or does it just allow you to have multiple primary partitions?
It does away with logical partitions in a way that and hard drives can be bigger than 2 terabytes. That's the big one.
All right.
Which can be bigger than 2 terabytes, which was on MBR a huge problem nowadays.
Which I am going to say, I probably didn't explain UEFI very well. So if you want to, by all means, go do your own research.
Go check out.
That's fine, Thomas. Thanks.
Yeah.
So wait, you talked for 10 minutes on UEFI, and then you tell us you didn't explain it very well.
My whole thing is, I actually had the same question about a year ago, and I went and researched it. But if I do not expect people to take my research at face value, because if you are going to critically think about something, you should never take what somebody says at face value. You should go do your own research, whether that's what you
don't believe.
Yes, and it's common sense, especially in today's world where you can go research anything with just a simple Google search. Or
but Michael Snell said it. It must be true.
Well, look, if you want,
I agree with that.
If you want some more info on UEFI, I don't have a link right at this moment, but Chris Titus Tech Tutorials, Tips, or whatever it is, Chris Titus on YouTube, he just put out 2 different videos on UEFI and Legacy, the differences and what they offer, and they are really well put. So
I'll have to watch
definitely should check them out.
Do I need to make a do I need to make an article about UEFI and provide my sources and put it on and submit it to go on the
Biddle blog?
Yes.
Blog?
Yes. Absolutely.
I will do that. I will make a research paper on it.
I'm waiting for the
Make
next.
sure to reference the article that Cubicle Nate's going to put out.
I'm
Thomas,
waiting for
just
the next
to note,
submission.
For APA style.
Huh?
APA style for citations, please.
Okay, I'll do that.
APA, yeah.
The rest of the paper won't be written in APA, but I'll do the citations in APA. I gotta tell you, dude.
Google Docs.
Who needs APA when you got hyperlinking?
All right.
I hate AP. I hate APA written papers. I love APA citations.
I don't like citations.
And now you
in
can
general
say
like that.
podcasts.
I've written a Chevy citation.
They are going to even get that,
almost
Chris.
every day.
They're not going to get that. All right. This is something that I wanted to do for a while with Biddle. There's just never enough time to do it in the 2 hours that we have, because we're always doing a distro or something like that. And we ain't going to have enough time to get through everybody here. But I started it on the Biddle Europe today, going through, starting with, I think Army was the first one, for where and when you started in Linux. Because I think a lot of comments I get are, one, who are the people on the panels? Meaning you guys, like, who are you? Where are the links at? And I did make the Biddle community page for that so that your guys' links would be up there. But I think also the next biggest question I get is, you know, what your background is. So I would like to start that now. And, you know, obviously we're not going to get through everybody. We're just going to go down the line and get one or two. And then maybe next week we'll get a couple more. But Dan, why don't you start it off of where and when you started? How did you hear about Linux, dude?
Oh, geez. I was in a CompUSA store back in the mid to late 90s.
They were awesome.
There was this box that was just calling my name, and it said Red Hat on it. So, and an alternative, and I had to go there. I had to buy it. And
but before you go any further, you were like, most people don't walk into CompUSA and say, "Oh, there's a disk I want to try." So, what, you are already a techie person, right? I mean, you.
Oh yeah, I've been using computers since the early '80s, right? So, started on a VIC-20, moved my way. Yeah. So then I moved my way to, you know, PC running DOS, and, you know, on and on and on. And so, you know, Windows 3.1 went through that, 95. And so it was right around the same time that 95 had come out. And here I am, you know, staring this. Yeah, there we go, Nate. Staring this box, you know, in the face. And I bought it, and I brought it home, and I installed it on my machine. It was probably like a Pentium 50 or something like that, right? Something really, you know, long time ago. And it was pretty cool. I made it go, and that was kind of neat. But, you know, it had some limitations, and I didn't really know what I was doing for a long time. And I sort of went away from it for a little while, but there was some cool things that you could do with it for sure. Like, one of the things I got, this is back in the dial-up days, right? So had a home network, but, you know, we all still had to dial up each of our own machines. Had it set up so that, you know, if any one of the machines on the network was looking for the internet, my machine, which was Linux, would dial out to the internet. We'd all share it. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's back in the day. You know, I'm on and off. I've always been into tech, got into the tech industry. I'm in IT. And kind of run some, you know, support some Windows stuff, support Mac OS stuff at work. But always came back to Linux. Started running Linux at home full time in 2005. Ubuntu, and it just always kind of stuck. And so I've always just been a user for the longest time until, we'll say a few years ago when I really wanted to dig into it a little further and started to just kind of look at things a little further than just, your regular web surfing and whatnot, and took it like another step further. Now here I am with you guys every week running a different distro, because like for the longest time I only ran Ubuntu, and started on GNOME 2, moved to Unity when they moved, and then found there's another whole world out there that's even better. So
yeah, well, you said 2005.
Yeah.
What Ubuntu was that?
I don't remember the code name, but
I'm trying to remember when I started, and
I think the 504 was the Beaver one. No. Yeah. No. The Badger.
Yeah. Badger something. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Warty Warthog. Maybe it might have been that one.
Oh, maybe. Don't know. Yeah. It was 2005 anyway. I still have the disc somewhere. I can dig it out. But yeah, that's when I started full time at home.
I would love to find the discs. I don't even know if I have them of the ones that I started on. And I can't remember exactly what year it was, but it was KDE 3.5. So whatever that was out.
Right.
So
yeah, I've been running it at home full time since then, and no no Windows for my machine. Got other people in the house. Some of them run Windows, but like I've said before, my son, he runs Peppermint on his machine and enjoys that greatly. Yeah.
So you switched over from Windows, and some other computers are in the house that run Windows. Is there something on Windows that, like, what's the one program you wish Linux had, or is there? Does it solve everything for you personally?
Well, so at work I do have to do some Windows stuff, and the one thing that kind of keeps me coming back to a VM, unfortunately, is Skype for Business. There is no Linux port for that, and the web thing is kind of horrible. So we have meetings that we have to attend together, and I've got to use Skype for Business. So fire up my Windows VM and do that stuff there. That's the biggest thing. Other than that, no, I don't miss any of it.
Well, we got calculators, so maybe Skype for Business is next.
Yeah, let's hope.
Except for the Skype for Web is not coming to Linux.
So. Okay, all right. Awesome. Dan, you said you're in IT and you're working on...
I am.
You don't get to work on any Linux servers?
I do. Actually, so I manage a group of system administrators. I'm also a network administrator. That's my full-time thing, but I also manage some of the other system administrators. So I help them out too. And we have a mix of Linux and Windows servers, pretty much split actually, right down the middle. Most of our Linux stuff is CentOS, but we have some Ubuntu stuff too, so that's kind of split as well.
Awesome. Pretty awesome stuff. Chris, where did you hear about Linux first, brother?
It was back in, I want to say, about 1994, when I was going to Central Connecticut State University. One of my friends downloaded a Linux kernel from Linus Torvalds' site, and he got it working, and he just was joking around the other day. He says, "Yeah, my system's rebooting now," and probably freaking my mom out. And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because she's going to see all these Linux messages going across on the screen. She doesn't know what they are." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's nice." So I grabbed a copy at one point. Didn't get it working, and put it down for a few years. But I had a very varied. I had a well-diverse background in computing. Everything from TI 99 to Apple IIe. Let's see, I had been running a bunch of stuff on VAXs, on Cyber 730, and stuff like that, just playing around in the university, college arena. And then when I started taking my studies seriously, I revisited Fedora Core 4, in fact it was. And we were that was being taught in my systems administration class. And so that's where I really started learning the meat of Linux. And it's probably why I also gravitate towards Fedora every time that I go off on some distro hop somewhere. Fedora is always waiting there. It's like a nice shoe that fits because I know it. And I really, people have said you don't never use Fedora in a production environment. I use a Fedora in production environment all the time, and I really don't have a problem with it. But by the same token, I know how to maintain it. So, and then eventually I started going for my LPIC, the Licensed Professional Institute, Linux Professional Institute, trying to get my certification on that. And for a profession, I'm desktop support for an aerospace company in Connecticut here. That's pretty much it.
So
right now.
Well, before I go any further, before I go any further, if any of you guys have questions, you're more than welcome to jump in at any time. But Chris, at home, do you have Windows machines? Are you completely Linux or?
When I have a computer at my house, 90% chance it's going to have Linux on it, and only Linux. There's one thing that I've found that I do need it for, and that's when I'm dealing with Blizzard, and because it's hit or miss if I can get a version of the BattleNet to work on Wine or not, and so I'll usually just run a Windows instance for that. And I don't like the virtual machines when it's dealing with gaming and stuff like that. Just because of the emulations, I much prefer to have a native on that.
Right. So that would be the one app that you would want on Linux.
Yeah, that and the fact that I've been trying to get through the original Dragon Age and I still haven't gotten through it, and so that's either Xbox or it's Windows, one of the two. Yeah.
Well, see, those things drive me insane too, because Chris Titus, the guy I said about the Uefi videos, he has gotten Shadow of War to Middle-earth Shadow of War to work on Linux, and it's not natively supported on Linux yet. I don't know if Farrell is going to port it over, but he's gotten it to work. I don't know, I guess through Wine or whatever, and I've tried multiple times and still can't get it to work, so it drives me insane. All right. Nate, when did you hear about Linux, dude?
Hi. So I heard about Linux in the late 90s. I got a box of Red Hat. And at that time, I'd been using the Amiga computers, and about 97, 98, I actually got my first x86 based computer, and I hated Windows pretty much right from the get go. It was like Windows. Mine came with Windows 98, and my dad had a computer, a Windows 95 machine that I kind of helped him with from time to time. And the anyway, so I was looking at how to install Red Hat, and it gave this really cryptic everything I had to do to make it work, and then I would lose everything I had, and I'm like, well, I just kind of threw it off. So pretty much from about 1998 to about 2002, I didn't really care for computers at all. Actually, I was kind of done with tech. Actually, I thought tech was stupid. And then I got this job at Whirlpool Corporation as a CAD guy, and they had these HP Unix machines, and I'm like, wow, computers are fun. And I love CDE. I thought it was great. It had the panel on the bottom. It's like Mac OS but useful, and it.
Great. I love it.
Anyway, and I was doing CAD work, Pro Engineer. Now it's called Creo. Anyway, I was using that on Unix, and it was great. I would try and find ways to make things that were working in Windows, like through a web client or whatever. It was you to do the Unix machine, so I wouldn't have to use this Sidekick Windows machine that is compact, whatever. And then somebody I was working with said, have you used Linux? And I said, well, I've heard of it. That's the Penguin computer, the operating system, right? And like, yeah, you should try it. And so I went to the store and I got a box copy of there was SUSE and there was Mandrake, and I went for Mandrake, and because it was based off a Red Hat app when I did some research on it. And so I don't have my original box copy, but I do have an old box copy of Mandrake Linux Power Pack 10. I was really proud of this when I bought it. I think I bought that in 2005. But pretty much from late 2002, I started toying with it, and then I got deployed overseas. And then when I came back, I started playing with Linux full time, and then I got deployed overseas again. So actually, I learned most of my Linux initial learning was all without the internet, with man pages, Mandrake Linux in the middle of the desert, no internet, and I loved it. It was great. That was kind of like my infant Linux time, and then I pretty much stayed with Mandrake Linux up until and then Mandriva, whatever they called it later, up until they kind of floundered, and then distro hop for a while. I didn't like anything Debian based. I tried Debian before, but pretty much anything Debian based, I didn't care for it. And also I wanted a KDE distribution because KDE was like the a featured desktop environment, because GNOME was just as aggravating then as it is today, and maybe not as much as aggravating then, and so yep. So I wanted a where I tried Kubuntu, and then it was a Mint at the time. I can't remember there was an Ubuntu derivative that was KDE based. About the time Mandrake was, I think it was Mint. I tried Mint, I didn't like it. There's a few others I tried. It wasn't as good as what Mandrake did. And then I jumped into OpenSUSE, and then I pretty much haven't looked back since. I've tried other KDE versions of, or Plasma now versions. I just don't like them as much, but now I'm just kind of locked in. So I don't actually have I don't own a Windows machine. I do have Windows 7 in a virtual machine, so I can use TurboTax in tax season, and that's the only reason I have a Windows virtual machine. My attitude is, if it's a game and it will not run in Wine or Proton, and it doesn't run on Linux, and it's not a console game, it's not worth running. Like, I don't care how good the game is; it's just not worth my time. So, and then I do have my
same way you feel about programs.
Well, no, I do wish there was one application, well, except for TurboTax,
right?
But there was one application. There's one application I wish would run on Linux, which is the Pro Engineer Creo Wildfire. That used to be Wildfire, now it's Creo. If that ran in Linux, that would simplify my life many times. Now, for a while, because when I was on HP Unix, Pro Engineer ran on that, and then they actually supported Linux for several years, and they dropped that, I would say, in the late decade, sometime. And now Creo is just runs on Windows. And if that ran on Linux, boy, that would make my work life so much easier. I could probably convince somebody that just to let me use a Linux machine at work instead of this Windows nonsense. Now I know people say, "Oh, Windows is great," and I mean, obviously Windows did change a lot of things, but for the better, make computers accessible for the masses, not the classes. Wait, that was Commodore. Windows for me, just the interface is just so frustrating for me to use. It's like I'm missing fingers when I try and use a mouse. It's like it just doesn't do. It's like I don't know.
So there's
or like I'm a monkey hitting a computer with a wrench or something. But anyway, it's just But that's just the only one application. Outside of that, I really don't need Windows for anything.
And there's no comparative application on Linux that will work like that.
So I use FreeCAD for personal stuff, and that has a lot. I mean, it's really quite good. It does a lot of things, but it just doesn't have the resolution when it comes to like creating parametric designs. I just can't. There's certain things it just won't do very well. The way I build parts or assemblies in Creo, I just cannot translate it fully over to FreeCAD, and it's not for lack of trying. It's not for my lack of understanding of FreeCAD. It has to do with the lack of actual features that I really kind of rely on as far as creating, basically theoretical datums, and
right.
When you build parts off of these datums, so mathematical constructs, so that when you scale the part, when you have to shift something on the part, all the child objects will change accordingly. And it's not been working well in FreeCAD for me. So if I create a complex part or assembly in FreeCAD, I just can't. If I change one dimension, it won't update things appropriately down the line. So, but yeah, that's literally the one application. I'm really hoping that PTC will build Creo on Linux again. I mean, they've talked about it. I've even talked to people at PTC, and I guess they do have it running in back rooms somewhere, according to somebody. But it's not publicly available. So.
All right. Well, as soon as Zoom stops freezing, we can move. There it is. Colin, where did you start in Linux, dude?
Well, I wasn't really a tech person myself. I don't think I picked up a computer till I was about 35 or 36 years old or something like that. So I remember I got a computer and I was having problems with Windows. I took it down to the local computer shop and I was a bit frustrated. I was watching over his shoulder what he's doing, helping him out. I was paying him, but I was helping him. And I said to him, it'd be nice if there was something else to use besides Windows and whatever. And he just said, look up Linux. So I went home and looked it up, and I found a guy online who sent me, I paid him $5. He sent me some discs, Red Hat, what is it? Red Hat 9 or whatever it is. They're the original discs, I think, from about 2005 or 6 or something. And also he sent me Knoppix as well, Mandrake, that's Mandrake, nice. And Knoppix 3.2 as well. So I've kept all those discs ever since I got those. And I was trying to run them on an old 486, which wasn't really playing ball. I knew nothing about computers. I just had all these thousands of little windows on one screen and wondering what was going on. And it was just crazy. But I moved on, and I kept looking up Linux as I went, and kept persisting with it. Red Hat, I was running on a computer trying to get the CD working. It was all this new stuff. There was nothing on the internet to look up for this, so I was just winging it as I went. And when I came over to Perth from Melbourne, the boss's son, he was the IT. He used Linux as a server, and he was quite taken back that I knew Linux, and he gave me Fedora. So I used that for a little while, but then I realised don't know why anyone would have given me Fedora when I wasn't that up to speed with Linux. Then I came across, I think it was Ubuntu and then Linux Mint. And then I just persisted with those things. And that's pretty much what got me into Linux. I don't even know what year it was, maybe 2004, 5, somewhere around there. I really don't know. It's just one of those things that happened randomly and evolved. And then I ended up here. So, I had some YouTubers that I used to love watching and learn extra things that I didn't know about. And then I was just inspired to make a YouTube channel and help people out because I just knew how hard it was in Linux. I mean, I used to panic if something disappeared off a panel. How do I get that back? Those little things that you got to remember what it was like when you first started Linux. It was just, it was just a panic for something to go missing. But I just love the way it worked because it started up quick. It had no issues. And with Windows, it used, do a fresh install how many times and it would run like lightning, and then, give it a month or two and it was back to its old bloated self again, and I've got one laptop now that runs Windows in case I need to do anything for family with the iPhone or something with iTunes, which I've done a couple of times, and that dual boots with Peppermint, and that's a little HP, can't remember which one of those ones, the old type that flip around and drop down into a tablet. So that's the only Windows I've got, and I've cleared myself from Windows for quite a long time, but I have to use it at work. I just think Linux is the best thing. My needs are very small, and I don't game. And there's nothing really from Windows that I need on Linux. I've learnt to try and, I used to do many searches, alternative this and alternative that, and try my best to whatever I can get going in Linux. So I did not have to go back into Windows. It was one of those things. But yep, I'm happy where I am. I'm in a good place right now, and just really like the community, like Linux. It's not perfect. Nothing ever is. So,
Yep, that's awesome, Colin. I think I did the same exact thing as you're talking about for the alternatives to programs. And, obviously there's no alternatives to like certain games you play, but for programs themselves, it was always the big search for the alternative. And even if it lacked some of the familiarity you had with the program or some features, you were willing to accept some of it to get onto something else. So
yeah, you're just willing to learn.
Yep.
If you want, if you want to stay with Linux, you just, the passion is you learn about how things work, and that's what I've done. So, command line I was just absolutely scared of. So I was thinking, this is just foreign. I just want to click things, because that was a Windows attitude. That was the Windows attitude. That's just how you do it. You download a .exe and, get a virus and reinstall.
Yeah, that's exactly how you do it.
And, but in Linux, it's just, I'm still learning things. And I do a lot of research, and I make sure when I make my videos that I've done all the research I can. I even stop some of if I'm halfway through a video and on KDN Live or something like that, and and it's funny, you don't pick things up when you're making a video. You only pick a lot of things up when you're making the video and watching it back through, and you think, I think I'm misleading something there. I might go back into that distro and make a bit extra, and so it's not misleading, and it's as much to the truth as possible. So yeah, it's interesting. It's good.
Awesome. Well, these are awesome stories, but we are out of time. It is 9:59. Can you believe that? Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So everybody gets a last word. Dan?
Alrighty. Thanks. As always, Rocco, you did extra duty today, 2 streams all on the same day. So that's super awesome. And enjoy the conversation. Always here. This is great. I look forward to it every week. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Chris, last word.
Smash that like button. Last few words.
Love it. Nate.
Hey, thanks again for having me. It's always fun. I appreciate being a part of this. It's a great community, and it's just it's my highlight of the week, actually. So thank you very much for that. Oh, and if you want more of my shenanigans, tuxdigital.com/cubiclenate.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for the first inaugural Cubicle Nate article for the blog.
Actually, I was going to ask you after the show on that. So whenever.
Okay, dig it. Colin, last word.
Yeah, well, thanks for the stream again, Rocco. And I can't believe we're doing Anaconda installer again.
All right, Dave, last word.
Anaconda's your friend.
Thank you, Rocco. Thank you, Dan. Thank you all. This is my home away from home and tuxdigital.com/sudo zipper dupe.
Yeah. Don't know if that link goes anywhere, but yeah.
I like it. It sounds good.
Steve, last word, brother.
As always, thank you. I'm extremely honored that you threw my picture up on your page. Nothing I expected, but that is really great. Everybody's been very welcoming in that, and it's been fun. I'm enjoying myself immensely. Thank you.
Well, as a reminder to everybody, you can, if you want more information about these guys, the Biddle community page, which is bigdaddylinux.com/community, you can go there and they have I put everybody's picture and links for all of their specific social media or websites or whatever I have on them. And if you see anybody that's missing from that page, please let me know. Reach out to me either through the contact page or email or whatever, and let me know, and I will gladly add them onto the page. And it's like an ongoing project. So, yeah, there you go. All right, Vash, last word.
Let's break grub.
Yes. No, let's not break grub. Paul, last word.
Just like say 8 months ago, before I got back into Linux, I would have never been able to install it on live stream and get it running. So yeah, thanks everybody for all the good tips and the videos. Colin, I've watched some of your videos. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Nice. Eric. Eric is not with us. Silent. Last word.
As always, thanks for having me. I managed to stay awake.
Good work, Silent.
Good to have you, Silent.
The sun's got to be poking through soon.
Very soon. Lovely community. I love these. I live for this. It's awesome. Thanks for chatting.
Nice. Big Pod, last word. You are muted, dude, or something. Your audio's not on.
Thanks for having us. And well, Fedora will be the first distro that I will be testing on real hardware. Already downloaded the ISOs and prepared the USB drive. So I'm sorry to my grub. That's first thing. Second thing, I'm sorry to my hard drives. They're gonna be sad, but I'll be happy.
Michael, last word. Michael, you're
He's
muted.
late as usual.
I was totally paying attention. So, actually, every time you say Michael, I just assume you're talking to Vash, and then I don't know why.
Well, that's why I started calling him Vash, because it's easier to differentiate from you.
Yeah,
That's why I
that makes sense.
switched it to Vash.
That works. That makes it easier. I'll remember that next time, hopefully. Anyway, my last word is tuxdigital.com/thisweekendlinux, because I'm currently editing the show right now. So that's multitasking right there.
JJ, last word.
Thanks for having me, Rocco. Thanks to all you guys for hanging out today during today, and also would like to also rep out the Big Daddy Linux Discord chat that we have at post show, bigdaddylinux.com/discord, and also I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna right now I'm also in the process of figuring out my EDC. So that's a process.
All right. Ritual, last word.
Thanks, Rocco, for having me again. Good seeing and hanging out with all you guys again. A few that do run Arch, take a look at maybe picking up a couple orphans in the AUR, and it does take a little bit of I'm not gonna lie, it took me probably a long time to figure out how to do it all, but after everything was said and done, it was really, really satisfying. I haven't really done too much that I feel like actually has given back to the community. So this is like the first time I actually feel like I'm doing something tangible and giving back, and it's pretty easy. There's like over 5,000 orphans in AUR right now, and you can find them. Yeah, there's a program. I'm not sure if it's in the Arch mainline repos, but it's called or AURPHAN, Orphan. I don't know how you pronounce that, but you run that and it'll find all the orphans that you could adopt and that need a maintainer. But outside of that, you need to know a little bit about setting up SSH and have Git on your installed on your computer. And outside of that, it's just a little bit of reading, and it's not too hard. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks again, Rocco.
All right, Pete. Pete, are you there? Of course he's not. Thomas.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for having me on this week. Sorry I didn't get to check out Bit Warden. I've been dealing with a Jogger OS alpha this week. So that's been fun on so many levels. Can't wait to check out Fedora. I already have it installed in VMware because I had to use it for class. So now I get to rant. Other than that, check out DruggerOS at druggeros.ml. Yeah.
Nice. Frank, last word, brother.
Just thank you, Rocco, for doing this twice today. I had to leave and go do family stuff and come back. And then thank you for doing the community page and for Prophetic for writing the first article. It's awesome. It's such a great community.
Dig it. All right, Eric, last word, brother.
Yeah, sorry I had to jump out there for a little while. What can I say? This is such an awesome group. I love coming and hearing everybody talk about what they're doing, the level of expertise and the users. It's wonderful. I'm so happy I've found this place, and happy to take part. So thanks again, Rocco, and everybody else. Have a great week.
Pete, last chance. All right. I want to thank Dan for helping me out with the stream here. And I want to say get well wishes to Zeb because he's feeling under the weather. He didn't make the Biddle Europe or tonight, so I guess he needed some much needed sleep. So, all right, check out the Telegram group for Big Daddy Linux, bigdaddylinux.com/Telegram, and also check out the Fedora Challenge. And I don't have the link on me, sorry, but it's the Fedora Challenge Telegram group that Jason put out for the challenge, and you can, ask for help in there if you have any issues with Fedora, or you can ask for help in our Telegram group, and we will do our best to do that. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. Thank you for all showing up. And long live Linux.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all. See you later.
Thank
Long
you.
live
Thanks.
Linux.
Long live
Take care, room.
Bye. Live long and prosper. I'm a Star Trek fan. What can I say?
That's awesome.
Are you